do this. Greetings. Man, it's been a minute. Alright, wanted to start the show with what I normally do with the guitar thing, but yeah, I forgot. I forgot how the riff went. So instead, we're just going to start with the normal bowl start. Alright, STS should be live on both YouTube and Facebook right now. So, welcome aboard if you watch this, whenever you do. I noticed the views alternate within this, of course, the subject, the material, the writing, the formatting, and the just basic overall tone of the actual show. So, definitely understanding the, not so much the algorithm, but understanding the flow more to a degree. I won't say I've become an expert at anything. I just want to say that, there's just a lot I've learned from it. And so I kind of went off on this diatribe on the 12th. So I was going to do one on Monday after the September 11th one. I figured that would generate whatever it generates and probably be pulled off anyway, so let's just move on. And so my whole point, as I'm reading through my notes here, I can see that we're talking about basically being in a stagnant position throughout history. We've always seemed to be crawling forward in terms of our own personal and mental evolutions, and the fact that we still got a long way to go, and basically the entire point of how, as a species, we've evolved in industrial and physical ways. We've made, machines that were, to be envied and to be, worthy of praise. We cured diseases. We're like the slowest growing advanced thing on this planet. And so my whole thing was just basically comparing the idea of physical industrial revolution and evolution as opposed to societal progression. And that again is of course going to be a semi-touchy subject, and it kind of just moved on. I ended up writing myself in a corner. I mean, it went from the generations before us all tending to be so different, and how no decade after it seems to follow suit, or if it's not the decade, it's within that 20-year span of a real generational change. You kind of notice where certain things should progress, they lay stagnant, and we as a people don't seem to want to move ahead. And that was really the entirety of what I wanted to talk about, because to me it's just ridiculous that we are still, I don't know, in my opinion, as a society, we are so behind on what we're capable of doing, what we're capable of achieving, and where we should be right now, both politically, societally, um, and culturally. Um, the fact that we tend to go into the same intervals and the same issues tend to be brought up every 10 years is showing that we're not different from the previous generation when it comes to our progression and change. And then you look at our own, what you could say is a degeneration, which is the whole fact that the testosterone levels for grown men are at an all-time low. You have people blaming society, kids not going outside, but you also blame. There's also blaming on the actual things that we're putting into our bodies that we never did 60 years ago, and that seemed to build off a tangent into where modern society should be, whether religion would have any part of it. There are so many people that have brilliant minds and can think in terms of progression, but they hold themselves back with some sort of superstition or uh, you can call it blind faith, whatever you want to call it. And again, not enough um, simplicity to where we as a people can just get along with each other and move forward as human beings, as a species as a whole, rather than being in a segregated and categorized manner. And again, that goes off into a tangent that would go so far as to basically just get lost in the minutia of the conversation. So realizing I wrote myself in a corner does not surprise me. Now, what did surprise me was the um, few emails I received from people that apparently watched the show that I didn't even know people were watching. There's apparent. I always noticed that there was one that seemed, minorly popular, but I didn't really pay attention to any kind of growth, which you really can't expect in the first week, let alone the first few days, and especially when you haven't even given yourself the time to grow as being on this platform. And so it kind of put me in a funk of reminding me of what I suck at and reminding me of what am I not here for, what am I not good at, what am I not doing. The same old questions that every person tends to ask themselves whenever they choose to do anything, either long term, mid term, or for a chunk of their life. They stop and say, am I a fool, or am I doing this because I want to do it, or am I doing it because I think I should be doing it, or am I doing this because it's simply what I want out there? And if found, I love the fact that people did find it and did listen to it. And so the comment sections may be like bone dry, and that to me was just I thought a proper reflection of what was going on, and I didn't bother to look at certain email addresses like the one that I constantly put out on this one, which is uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. And again, I mentioned saying, um, being alone, being disattached from society is very normal, especially at this point where it seems like depression is inevitable. Um, Again, I was going to not necessarily read off. Well, yeah, I did want to read off some of them, but I didn't want to divulge directly into any kind of uh, statistical baiting or anything like that. So I just wanted to look up a few facts that I could look up. Um, Seeing the age adjusted suicide rate in 2020 was 13.48 per 100,000 individuals. The rate of suicide is, oh, by the way, I'm going to use the word, okay? It's a word, alright? We deal with it. It's something that has to be in our face more than it ever should be. But humans, we're, we are flawed individuals, and some of us think differently. It doesn't make anyone weak. It doesn't make anybody lesser minded or not as strong willed. That is entire crap, and I will constantly vouch for that because when you lose friends, you lose people that matter to you. You don't think of them as weak. At least I don't. I don't blame. I don't blame my friend or friends for bailing. I can't hate. I can't hate them for that, and it's their decision, and they made that decision because obviously suffering was apparent, and suffering was a daily part of their life, and they wanted to end that. And I don't necessarily find that selfish or single minded. I simply see that as a flawed person thinking of an easy way out, and I always advocate for that. And the Nietzsche quote that suicide has been I think it was like suicide has been the light people rely on through the darkest moments of their life, and I'm paraphrasing on that, but again, it's just pointing out that we all can look at something, and just knowing that we have an option makes choices easier to make. When you have options, you can make choices, and if you don't have any options, you don't have any choices, and you're backed in that corner, and you don't want to feel that way. So the idea that you can say, well, things don't work out, I can always just get the hell out of here. You know what? If that's what helps, use it. But it can't be your crutch. You gotta move on. Um, so let's see again. The rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men. Middle-aged white men. Now, I did a little further digging on that, and when it comes to the middle-aged white male, um, I guess you would say demographic, but this little chunk in our statistics, this little part of our pie chart, this little piece of our pie chart, um, yeah, it's definitely an issue with um, being in 30s, 40s, 50s. Most of the time, it's divorced people, divorced men that have no access to their children. That is a big percentage of those middle aged white men. Um, Black men as well suffer the same exact thing. So do any fathers that don't have any options in seeing their children. Uh, my point in titling this video "Don't Hate Yourself" is I've always had that morbid curiosity of death and wondering what's on that other side. Being someone that is I consider myself a risk taker, and if I can do something incredibly stupid to get out the other end and have a good story about it, I'm probably gonna do it. So that's why I'm not really the I'm not a pushover, but it's hard for me to say no. And it's not because I get peer pressured. It's just like, well, if I haven't done it, then who the hell am I to judge it? So, when it comes to the "don't knock it till you try it" kind of argument, I've always kind of leaned towards that. So, another reason why I posted or placed that and made a longer little thing on Facebook was to point out that, in my opinion, a lot of people that tend to want to just get the hell out of here and do what gets them the hell out of here. I think people really tend to do this because, as a part of the process of hitting your bottom and landing at the very bottom, where that's all you see anymore, and all are the mistakes you made, and you can't shake that smell anymore, and you have to deal with this. That is one of the most important steps of your life, and you're already going to hate yourself. You're going to hate yourself for putting yourself through it. You're going to hate yourself for so many other reasons that it's only going to make it worse if you continue. And so when you look at the percentages of people that commit these acts, it's not selfish. You have to remember, to them it's the furthest thing from selfish. It's getting out of the way. It's letting other people live on without my stink left on your on your life. That's how it's seen. And again, when you're on that fall and you lose friend after friend, you start to notice that your circle and your phone has a lot less contacts than it did last year. And it's because you can't talk to these people anymore. And in that situation, you have to turn around and fix it, because that's not you. And the reason why that's not you is because you had a full phone of contacts, you had a full list of friends, you had a life where you knew your friends had your back, and now you see you don't have that, and you could blame yourself. You can blame everyone else and try to think that everyone just left you, or you can look down and say, okay, what have I done to land this far? And when you realize how much people have hated you, you begin to hate yourself. And it's like you want to see yourself through their eyes so bad that you can't help but hate yourself after what you see. And you cannot hate yourself at all. Like, you will, but you'll learn that you can't. You just can't live that way. It's only gonna drag you down. It's only gonna make your life a living hell. And in order to climb out of an abyss, you have to realize that the abyss is there and you've been in it. And there is no more light. There is no more rays of sunshine coming through until you've fully committed to understanding that you are in that darkness. And I think understanding that is, they might say that it's a single step towards, getting better, but I think that's the main one. Like, if there was ever a stair that had a name, that's, a stairway to freedom, that would definitely be the one, that big step, that first big step. Because once you are able to see it in the right context, you're then able to slowly but surely forgive yourself. And then when you realize you're worthy of forgiveness, then you don't have to go and turn back. You can go on your apology tour and apologize to those you hurt, and you definitely should, but again, not at the risk of hating yourself. So if you're not there, then don't do it yet. You can't go on an apology tour when you're not ready to apologize. So that's another thing that people don't tell you. So when you're trying to get better, you tend to climb out the abyss and then think, okay, now I gotta start shooting apologies at everybody that I've hurt. And that's not the case. You definitely want to stay back and do more soul searching. And again, not find yourself in their perception, because that will make you hate yourself, but to understand why they would have such a perception. And that's seeing it for the big picture, in my opinion. And so, with one of the emails asking about hatred, that's why I'm bringing this up. I replied to that email already, and I'm not going to do that on here. I just want to say that that the kind of the nutshell of this entire episode is based off of that email. And yeah, and again, when you're hated, most people don't even know what that is. Most people don't know what being hated feels like or what it really is. I mean, people have overused the word hate and completely bastardized the meaning to where it honestly doesn't mean that much anymore. I mean, you literally ask your best friends sometimes, why are you hating me? And you're just fucking around. But even if you're just fucking around, you're still abusing the damn word. So it doesn't come off that, it doesn't come off the tongue as sharp when you try to ask someone, do you know what it's like to be hated? And I mean fucking hated, where someone actually wished death on you. Someone actually, would say horrible things about your family, and for no, comeback at all. You wouldn't feel the same way about them. And that's also a sign that you've gotten better, is the fact that you don't hate them. Because if you project that hate back, you are only putting yourself in another negative space. and the whole point is to free yourself from that darkness. So why do it? Why jump into the same cesspool that you're trying to ignore? I mean, you're not disacknowledging its existence. You're not being naive. You are ignoring it. You see it's there. You're ignoring it. I know it's there. I'm consciously ignoring it, and that's extremely important. I can't tell you how many people have left my side of the screen. Um, I always consider what I see be, this is my camera, this is my point, this is my show. And so when people leave the show, it's, to me, a big deal because um, I'm a person that knows that I am a polarizing figure. I am a polarizing human being just by nature. Um, I wrote this earlier that the reason why I was hated by so many people is because that's how I rub off on you. Either you uh, know me and have nothing but good things to say, or you fucking hate my guts. There's very few people that actually know me that would ever be in the middle. I've never heard anyone say about me, because if you were someone in my life, and I mean like really in my life, where I see you more than uh, you know more than just an hour at a time. But if I see you for, if I'm hanging out with you every day and shit, and we're going out, you actually know me. Um, yeah, I, I will either make you love me or hate me, depending on how you rub off on me. And yeah, that used to be so arbitrary. I would hate people for no damn reason, and it was because I really just didn't like myself, and that's always the issue. Is I had no issue with people, I just hated myself, and kind of wanted them to hate me, because at least we're both on the same page, and I don't have to rely on you. You don't have to rely on me. And then there's other people that I would meet that I just instantly connect with, and I would take a bullet for in a minute, and they know that. And uh, so when you're on the other side, I mean, it's great to be loved, but to be hated takes just as much effort. And so the one good thing about that is if your apology and you're true in your apology, they should know. If they know you, they should be able to know that. And if they continue to hate you, then you can only feel sorry for them, because you're willing to move on and you want better circumstances for your relationship. You know that you screwed up, said some things or did some things you're not proud of, and you really wish you could take back. Well, we can't. So can we be grown-ups, and can you forgive me? And I just prove to you by being around that I'm going to make that up. What some people tend to do is they tend to say they forgive you, but then they shut you out, and that's not forgiving someone, in my opinion. I don't know. Is forgiving someone? Can you forgive someone but shut them out? I mean, it's more of a I it's more of like a forgiveness on paper. Forgiveness means, not that things go straight back to normal, but that there's the opportunity that it can. And in my opinion, that's a fixed relationship. That's forgiveness. And so yeah, my whole point being, if you are feeling like you're going to want out of this world, simply because everyone hates you. I want that person to know that email meant a lot to me, and that you do not have to hate yourself to see yourself the way that they do. That is not how it works. You see yourself the way that they do by simply understanding, well, what if just apply it to yourself, and how would you feel, and you move on from there. And if you're lucky, you'll get that friend back. If not, at least someone will nod at you in the street, I guess. Um, that's really all I wanted to talk about. So thanks again for stopping by. I really appreciate that. Again, that email meant a lot, and I want you to know specifically that I'm thinking about you, and I really hope things get better, but they'll only get worse if you allow it. And there are no empty platitudes and stupid sports scenarios to help get you through it. You just have to live it. And it's a scar. It takes time, and it's just like anything else. It takes a lot of time, and eventually you don't forget it, but you also don't think about it as much. And that is freeing in its own way, and that is forgiving yourself in your own way. And those little gestures to yourself can make a whole difference. So don't hate yourself. You know, you don't have to be a dick and be a chauvinist or a conceited person. Just don't hate yourself. Okay, guys? I will come back if my signal is rang. If you guys contact me at uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. Anything you want to talk about, I am glad to get your emails. You want to be anonymous, you don't want to be talked about like this, I have no problem doing that for you. I'm just glad that you know who you are and you know what I'm talking about. Love you guys, take care of yourselves, and please just be safe and take care of each other.